Warning: the following story contains disturbing content, violence, and graphic imagery. Viewer discretion is advised. Not suitable for anyone under 18. Nightmares aren't the end, they're the entry. NoPulse.
It was the late 90s and I was a young kid living in the tiny area of Eagle Creek, Oregon, about 5 miles from Estacada and 25 miles south of Portland. In many ways, the area was picturesque, nestled in the middle of dense coniferous forests with creeks, lakes, and rivers, all surrounded by the massive peaks of the Cascade Range. It was a beautiful place to grow up. But being at the doorstep of a large city and just minutes from Interstate 5, the area attracted all kinds of people, and not all of them were, let's say, living in the same reality as the rest of us. Some had completely lost it. That made for some interesting stories from my childhood, stories that I didn't realize weren't normal until much later in life, and this is one of them. I was about 10 to 12 years old when this all happened. It was the beginning of summer and I was excited for another day of riding bikes and swimming. There were a lot of kids my age in the area and we all pretty much took care of each other during the days since most of our parents worked. I can't remember exactly who all was at my house that day except for my friend/neighbor and his little brother. I want to say there was at least one other person there with us, but I can't remember for sure. I don't want to put names out there for a couple of reasons that I'm going to keep to myself. So we will call the older brother Josh and the younger brother Jake. So Josh and Jake came over to my house and asked if I wanted to go swimming in our other neighbor's pool. I was all for it, but told them I needed to take a shower first, but I'd be quick. After being in the shower for just a couple of minutes, the door to the bathroom jiggled, but I always locked it so it didn't open. Before I could ask what the fuck my friends were doing, I heard one of them yell, "Hurry the hell up in there, you gotta go." He said a couple of other things, but I can't remember for sure what they were. To be honest, I wasn't really listening and didn't really care. I thought it was just my friends screwing around. So I finished in my shower, got out and dried off, and quickly put my swim shorts on, and headed out to the living room where my friends were playing some games or something on Nintendo 64. Josh looked at me and asked me, "Who was that guy you were talking to?" I asked him what he was talking about, and he said, "That weird looking dude that was yelling at you while you were in the shower?" I looked at him like he'd grown a horn and said, "I thought that was you yelling at me. Who was in here and where the hell did they go?" Josh said, "Some dude just walked in here, yelled at you, and then..." About then, we heard my dog Kara going insane. She was a pure Rottweiler and was one of the sweetest, most loving dogs I've ever had. She was in her kennel at that moment though, because I hadn't gone out to let her out for the day yet. It was still only like 8 a.m. Usually I get up early to complete my chores for the day, but for whatever reason, other than feeding all the animals, I hadn't done them yet that day. I looked out our back window and saw Kara trying to tear her kennel apart, trying to get out. In front of the kennel was a dirty-looking dude with ratty clothes. He had a rope around our horse Sonny's neck, and Sonny was trying to back away from him because he was using the other end of the rope to whip Sonny. I looked at my friends and told them that I had no idea who that was. I thought maybe my parents asked someone to come by to do something with the horses, but they would have told me or left a note if that were the case. Plus, my parents would never have asked someone to do something with one of our animals knowing that they would possibly cause harm to them, like whipping them with the other end of the lead rope. So that possibility was quickly squashed. Now, I wasn't the smartest of kids, as you'll soon see. I had more bravery than brains when it came to people. Even at that age, I thought I could take on the world. I went outside and went towards the strange guy whipping our horse. The guy who at that moment had my dog Kara, who'd never so much as growled at another person, lunging at the kennel door so hard and with such ferocity that she moved the entire kennel off its concrete foundation and actually broke and twisted a couple of strands of the kennel. And this wasn't a cheap aluminum Walmart special. This was an old school farm kennel made from galvanized steel. I walked up to about 30 yards from the guy and asked what he was doing and if my parents asked him to come do something with the horses. I couldn't understand everything he said back because most of it was absolute garbage. I don't mean garbage as in potty mouth. I mean, it was literally just fucking noises coming from this man's mouth. Except for these words. Get your shit and get off my property. This is my house. Get out of here and take that trampoline with you. I had a giant trampoline that was sitting by our garden, between him and me. I, of course, had no clue what was going on, but something finally clicked that this situation wasn't one I wanted to be in. Shit fell off, you feel me? But like I said before, more bravery than brains. So I proceeded to talk some trash back. Now, I don't remember what I said, but I do remember that whatever I said got a reaction from him that instantly gave me that fight or flight fear deep in my gut. He dropped one end of the lead rope he had on Sonny so that the rope could fall from around the horse's neck. Then he began coiling it around his arm and stared straight at me. By this time, my friends were out here with me and standing right behind me. They had my back, which is probably why I felt it was safe to say stupid shit to a guy who at that moment was staring at me with such intensity I thought he would soon bore through me with his eyes. As he coiled the rope, he began slowly walking towards us, saying, "Come here, boys. Come closer." I heard gravel stirring behind me. I turned to both see what it was and to run like hell, only to see that my friends, who I thought had my back, were already halfway down the driveway and jumping the fence for their houses. Dicks. So I took off too. Once I was over the fence and on my friend's property, I looked for where the guy went, because he didn't sprint after us, but he was following and still shouting for us to come closer. Only now he was pulling up the electric fence posts and throwing them like they were spears while screaming, "Come here, boys. I'm gonna fucking kill you all." And other really scary shit. These weren't tiny garden fence posts. These were T-posts, driven into the ground and meant to stay there for a long time. Somehow, this man, who was off his rocker, was pulling these up out of the ground like he was just picking up some twigs, then launching them towards us like he was Thor tossing lightning bolts at us. So we booked it into my friend's house, and we all went around making sure that every window and door was locked, while the oldest of us, Josh, called 911. I ran around the house with the youngest brother, Jake, looking for weapons. I think I ended up with a big knife and Jake had like a broom handle or something. Can't remember what Josh grabbed or anyone else for that matter. We ran around from window to window as the guy circled the house saying off the wall shit, in between saying he was gonna kill us. He made it around to the front door and began banging on it. On the sides of my neighbor's front door were small glass windows you could see through. He looked in one of those and saw us all staring back at him. That's when he began an insane rant. I can't remember every word he said, but I remember parts. It went something like this. "I'm the Grand Wizard of the North. I have incredible power. I could decimate you all." Then he said something that actually shook my friends. "I'm your real father. Your mother took you away from me when you were babies, and I've been searching ever since. Look in your mother's nightstand next to the bed. In the bottom drawer at the bottom of it will be a photo of her and I together and another one of all of us together." Or at least it was something very close to that. But to our little dum-dum brains, maybe it was true. Not that it would change the fact that dude was throwing spears like he was trying out for the javelin at the next Olympics while screaming he was going to murder us all, but worth a check, right? As I'm sure you can guess, there was no photo there. Now you may be asking yourself, where were the cops by now? Well, it turns out that whoever Josh talked to the first, second, and third time all believed we were just some kids playing around on the phone. Never mind the screaming lunatic in the background. Never mind the youngest of us crying and screaming in fear for our lives. Nope. Just some dumb kids playing around. Oh, it gets better. So while Josh was trying everything he could to get the police to believe him, the psycho dude circled back around to the back door, pounding on every window along the way and holding what looked like a gun to my terrified young mind in his sweatshirt pocket. The back door was a sliding glass door. He could see through it just fine, and we could see him. Just a thin layer of glass between us. He began saying the "I'm the Lord of the North" junk or whatever. And for whatever reason, my buddy Josh thought that was the right time to throw shots at the guy. Because he yelled back in a mocking voice, something like, "And I'm the Wicked Witch of the West, come get some, bitch." Or something very close to those words, while doing a hip-thrusting motion and grabbing his junk. The crazy guy did not like that. He began pounding and kicking the door, and the door came off the tracks on his last kick. Fortunately, it was still being held by the frame, but it wouldn't have taken much more to kick it totally in. He was screaming at us what he was going to do to us again. Believe me when I say that the brave me shrank a bit that day. Anyway, I was terrified. I thought for sure that one of us was going to die. I thought that it was only a matter of time before he found a way in and did exactly what he was screaming he would do: kill us all. By this time, we understood that the police were useless. We knew of one adult nearby, though, who would help us. Our other neighbor who had the pool. His stepdad was home, which is why we were able to go there to swim. Or that was our plan anyway. Josh called him, we'll call him John, and told him what was happening and that he was almost in the house. John was there in less than a minute, hand behind his back holding a pistol. The guy met John in the yard and stopped about 10 feet from him. John told him he needed to get the fuck out of here now. No questions, no back talk, no bullshit. Just turn and move off. The guy turned, and as he did, he looked at us, watching him through the window, and mouthed something. No clue what he said, but the look on his face promised death. He walked out to the road with John following close behind him, finger on the trigger. The man turned right out of the driveway and began walking towards Van Kuren, a road at the end of Filbert Road where I lived. And because I wasn't the brightest of the bunch, and because I was obsessed with being a cop back then, a bit ironic thinking about that now, I felt it was my duty to follow him and make sure he didn't hurt anyone. By now, John had also called the police, and they were sending a unit out. It had been about 2 to 3 hours since we first called them. I ran back to my house and grabbed my big-ass survival knife and stuck it in my bag. And with Josh at my side, we began following him from a very safe distance. Again, not the brightest kids. He took a right at Van Kuren and then another right at Wildcat Mountain Road, where we decided that we needed to head back home. Once we got back home, the police had already picked him up and were just turning into my friend's driveway. Our parents had all been contacted by this time, and a couple had made it home quickly. The officer got out of his car and came and talked to all of us. We learned that he was schizophrenic and was well known to the police. They had just picked him up and dropped him back off at his house he was living in, which just happened to be right around the corner from our houses. They didn't think he did anything worth taking him to jail or the hospital over, and I could tell they still weren't believing us. Well, I was pissed. The beginning of my learning that police are not our friends or there to help us. That's a different story, though. I will say this, though. If those cops that brought him back to his house that day were a part of the team that went to his house a few months later, I bet they believed us after that. Because this isn't the last story I have about this man or the house he came from. Maybe I'll tell that in a future story. I hope you enjoyed. Take care and be safe. My Conscience 616 out.
If this nightmare made your skin crawl, like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. New horrors every week. True crime, terror, and tales that don't die. Nightmares aren't the end, they're the entry. No pulse.